Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here. Welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of February 2023. Short month, and admittedly kind of a short on the, the amount of stuff here. But not my fault. I mean, I guess it is. But I did a video earlier this month that was 75 minutes of Japanese pickups. Just tons and tons of stuff. So I'm going to be honest, kind of blew a lot of the budget on that. So, while I obviously got some stuff here, mostly stuff that was sent in, we'll obviously talk about it, it'll be fun, but just being completely transparent, like, there's less stuff than that. So, but before we talk about all this stuff, you guys can do me a favor. Please like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't done that before, as well as in the description of the video, you will find various social media links to me. There's my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, etc. I appreciate it if you can go ahead and follow me on those. With Patreon, you get early access to videos, and you can get shout outs, and you can be on my podcast. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff over there. But anyway, I appreciate that. There's also a Spreadshirt in case anybody wants merch. I often forget that that even exists, but it's there. As well as my new channel called Flying and Eating, which is an adventure travel channel in which you can actually see where some of this bizarre stuff comes from. So in one case, pretty odd. But yeah, so that'll do it for that. Thank you very much. Now, as I mentioned, I did this long Japanese pickups video. And in that video, if you did watch it, and if you didn't, you should. It's criminally underviewed, given how much cool stuff's in it. But in that video, there was a boxed Neo Geo CD top loader console. Now, I picked that up, obviously, in Japan, but one of the things I do whenever I pick up a boxed console in another country is, obviously, I gotta get it back here, so I put it in my suitcase, and, you know, whatever. One thing I don't think I've ever mentioned about that process, though, is that to maximize the amount of stuff you can actually fit in the suitcase, it's best to actually open up the box of the console and just kind of put smaller items in there, and, you know, kind of whatever will fit. That way, they're, you know, you're increasing the mass but not increasing the volume of the suitcase. Therefore, you can get more stuff in, basically. So I put a bunch of stuff in it, and then I took it all out when I made the video, right? Well, turns out I slightly screwed up. I accidentally left something in it, and that's going to be our first item here, even though technically this was picked up in January. This is a Dreamcast VMU, but specifically the Godzilla Green Edition one. Now, to be fair, I already have this. I have it like a boxed, like, complete one. This was just kind of a pity buy, because there it was sitting amongst the VMUs. It wasn't particularly expensive over at a hard op. What's cool about this one is that it actually says Godzilla on it, but it says it in the Godzilla 98, like, American font. And I believe this was basically like a promo to kind of tie in Godzilla Generations, which was a launch Dreamcast game in Japan. And Godzilla 98 is actually in that game. And that game came out in 98. See, kind of all makes sense tying it together. Even though that version of the character is so bad that he's not even considered a version of the character anymore. But still, it's just kind of a relic from that era. But nevertheless, cool to get a special edition VMU, even though it was an S, and one I've already got. Basically, I'm gonna be honest, it was a Dreamcast rescue thing. That's really all I was doing. But yeah, so moving on, that's it from Japan, because again, the whole video already existed. But while I've been back, I've mostly just been working on stuff, but I did briefly get a chance to go out to Suburbia for a minute, and I hopped into a half-price books, you know, just out of curiosity, and you never know. I haven't found much of half-price books in years, to be completely honest, but this time I did all right. There was a bunch of cheap Xbox stuff. You know, nothing like crazy, but just some stuff where I was like, okay, I can get that. For the Xbox 360, Crackdown 2, I kind of forgot that I have Crackdown 1. I've never picked up the third. I've heard nothing but terrible things about it. The second one I don't really remember all that well. But yeah, this was stupid cheap, so I was just like, whatever, that's fine. Get that. No particular 360 collecting goals on my end. It's mostly just stuff like, oh, that would be interesting to have, sure. But unlike the next system, which would be the OG Xbox, I still want a complete set. That might be the last console I ever try to get a full set for, and my definition of full set is everything from my own region, plus all the European exclusives, plus all the Japanese exclusives. Ironically, in the case of the original Xbox, I have completed all the European stuff, I have completed all the Japanese stuff, I've even got some of the oddball ones, like there were 4 Australian exclusives, there was 1 South Korean exclusive, there was 1 exclusive to Taiwan. I've got all those. The American stuff is what I'm missing, and there's still a bunch of it that I'm missing, but I got a couple here. I got nothing crazy, but just off the list. Rugby 06, which it's kind of, I'm not gonna lie, a little surprising you would have got a rugby game released here. This feels like something that would have been exclusive to Australia or possibly parts of Europe. I don't think they still do rugby games in North America. I could be wrong, but I can't remember the last time I saw one. But there you go, Rugby 06. Over the Hedge, which was a CGI movie that I don't remember having particularly great feelings for. I've seen it once. The only thing I really remember about this movie was William Shatner's part in it, and he just played possum. He played a possum who would play possum, meaning he would fake his own death all the time. That's all I really remember about this. I know that the main character was voiced by Bruce Willis, who now is, while he is still with us in the living sense, he is no longer going to be acting due to health reasons, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe it was fitting in that sense that I found it. But there you go, Over the Hedge. And the last one was probably the most interesting one. This is Tecmo Classic Arcade, which was, nowadays this is nothing. It's just basically an emulator set of a bunch of Tecmo classics. So in this case, there's 11 games: Tecmo Bowl, Rygar, Star Force, Solomon's Key, Pleiades? Sorry, pronunciation. Senjo, Pinball Action, Strato Fighter, Swimmer, Bomb Jack, and Tecmo Cup. Or in Tecmo Bowl. Yeah, I already said Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bowl is probably the game that Tecmo is the most well known for in that era, so it's not surprising they would feature it at the top like that. And of course all over the back. And I don't even like Hand Egg, but I'm very much aware of that game. So yeah, I know it's cool that this exists and it's out there. This is the kind of thing I don't think you would get a whole lot of. Like Atari just did that big collection, but that's like literally Atari. And even then it was like 50 years of history and a whole bunch of stuff. I kind of miss that we used to be able to have like individual developers do like, hey, we'll just throw out a couple of random games and there's still enough of an audience for that. Like you do still see that from time to time, but it has to be the upper echelon guys, not Tecmo. But either way, it's still cool that exists. So yeah, that was it for the original Xbox. Up next, we got a few packages. The first one here comes from Retro Fighters. I'm not totally certain what it is, but I assume it's a controller. But I don't know if this is something I already have, or we'll see. Yeah, Retro Fighters, if you are unaware, is a company that I've done a bunch of videos on their stuff in the past. They basically make like more modern controllers for retro game consoles. I don't know which one this is going to be. This is the Defender. Didn't I do a video on the Defender? Defender. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one must be different. So I did a video on the Defender. I don't know. This would be the second version of it. This one says it works on PS3, PS4, and PC. The first one worked on PS1, PS2, and PS3. So yeah, obviously I haven't used it yet, but I'll make a video on this. I think that makes more sense. So then we can review it and see like what it's all about. But yeah, so there you go. It looks kind of like a PS5 DualSense controller. But yeah, stay tuned. I'll do a video on that. So thank you to Retro Fighters because they just sent that to me. Retro Fighters has a habit of just kind of sending me stuff without ever telling me about it. So speaking of which, we got another package here from France, Marseille specifically. Not to be confused with Marseille, the guys who made the M Classic, like the actual city of Marseille in France. I have no idea what this is, so let's find out. Okay. Yeah, it's a bunch of, looks like promo stuff. Okay. It is, what is this? It says Happy New Year. It's a Let's Play with Passion. Happy New Year. It's like a little card, and etched into it says 2023. There is a pin from some character. There is also a little comic book type of thing. It says Game Boy Color. New exclusive game is coming this year. It looks like a bunch of systems they're doing content for. It looks like they're making stuff for Neo Geo. So basically this comes from Pixel Heart. Pixel Heart is a developer that does a bunch of Dreamcast stuff. Or, well, okay, they're a publisher that does a bunch of Dreamcast stuff. That's how I know them best. These guys have been doing a lot more stuff. They do, as it says, PS4 and Switch stuff a lot. Apparently they're going to start doing Game Boy Color and Neo Geo stuff. I know they do some Neo Geo CD things, which I would love to get my hands on. That would be cool, now that I'm getting more into Neo Geo CD stuff. But yeah, I guess this is just them kind of sending me just kind of a Christmas/New Year's kind of package. So it's got that, and it also came with this nice little Pixel Heart pen, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it just says Pixel Heart on the side. So thank you to the guys at Pixel Heart. Was not expecting that at all. Thank you very much. Although, speaking of Europe, in a sense, because that came from France, as weird as this is going to sound, I guess, I basically had a 36-hour trip in Frankfurt, Germany. I had to go out there for a brief little meeting, and I'll leave it at that. And while I was there, I had a little bit of time to kind of explore Frankfurt, the city, and I hit up one store. Frankfurt is not a store or a city that has a bunch of like retro game stores or anything like that. The only place I could even find that would sell games is a store called Saturn, which is like Best Buy. They have them in various European countries. I know they have them in Austria, Poland, Luxembourg, obviously Germany. Those are the ones I remember seeing them in personally. They might be in the Netherlands and Belgium. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember seeing them in France, but I could be definitely wrong about that. I don't remember seeing them in like Portugal or the UK, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, they do have them in Germany. So in there, I decided to wander around, see if I could find any exclusive games or movies. The thing with Germany is that it actually has, it's a kind of a Blu-ray paradise. It's a little like Australia in that there's a lot of movies that get, or TV shows that get physical Blu-ray or DVD sets in those particular countries that don't often get them anywhere else. And it's a long story, but the super short version of that is that the licensing fee there is much lower. So it's a rights issue, right? So it changes from country to country. And Germany and Australia in particular tend to be kind of, I'm not going to say loosey-goosey about it. They do it officially, but it's just easier to do. And so that doesn't necessarily apply to games all the time, but it does result in a bunch of odd exclusive games as well, and I wanted to see kind of like what I could find. But keep in mind, when it comes to Germany in particular, the exclusive type of games they really like are like horse simulators and farming simulators and car chase simulators. Like, they love their simulators. I didn't really want any of those, to be completely honest. But here's what I got. The first thing up is not a game, it is a movie. The other two are games. This is a Blu-ray of the Tom Jane version of The Punisher from like whatever it was, 2004-ish, 2003. I honestly don't remember what year this came out. I have a soft spot for this movie. I love it. I think it's like a great action movie. That's just awesome. Now, this movie got a Blu-ray release in the US. That wasn't, actually, funny enough, I have the Blu-ray of the Australian version because it was a better print than the American one. The reason this got me excited is there is an extended cut of this movie that has only ever had a DVD release here, and it was a very brief release. I was just stunned to see this because, granted it's in German, but it does say they have the theatrical and the extended cut, so finally. I'm very happy about that. As for region coding, usually that's not an issue. This one claims to be region B, but a lot of the time they're actually region free. And even if it is region B, I have ways around it. So very happy to get that. The other two are games. The first one is a PS5 game that is totally exclusive to Europe. I believe this game actually comes from Spain specifically. So at that point, it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of like the artwork. This is a game called Tape, Director's Cut, Unveil the Memories. What's interesting about this game is it was not only made in Spain, the entire game is in Spanish, the audio is. And it is kind of an audio adventure type of game, which sounds potentially problematic because I don't speak Spanish, but it does say it has subtitles from various countries, and one of which would be the UK, so it's in English. And this one comes with a whole bunch of stuff. It's one of those things where like I wanted to get an exclusive game. They have a ton of them, but as I said, most of them are like, I'm going to be honest, just stupid horse racing simulators. And I was like, I'm not going to get this just for the sake of it. At least this looked like a game, and it looked like one of those odd indie games that, doesn't get enough traction, and then eventually you find out it was like some really rare release as a result. Now, will it be? Probably not. But it could even get released here. Who knows? But at the moment, this looked cool. It wasn't very expensive, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick that up. And it's a nice little collector's edition, or director's cut edition, that comes with a booklet and a bunch of artwork and stuff, so that was a solid pickup. And the last one I got was very much not an exclusive, but it was substantially cheaper over there. And it kind of ties back into the original Xbox. This is Stubbs the Zombie, Rebel Without a Pulse. Now, this was actually a game that came out on the original Xbox back in the day. And the original Xbox version is comically expensive now. It's one of the few original Xbox games that's worth a bunch of money. So they did a remaster of sorts for modern platforms, obviously one of which being the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, I believe there's a PS4 and Switch version, all that sort of stuff. But I wanted the Xbox version, and it kind of was fitting, you know, thematic, whatever. But the American release of that, I'm not gonna say it's expensive, but it's like, you know, $40 or so. This was only €10. It was like basically $10, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I can live with that. So it was basically just a cheap pickup version. So cool with that, especially because I will never, ever go for a full Xbox One or Xbox Series X set. This is just kind of like, I just wanted to play it, but I wanted to own it physically. So there you go. And the last thing we have here is a package that comes from Songbird Productions. This is going to be an odd one. And this is something, I've saved it for last for a reason. I'm very excited about this. And this is something that 100% is getting its own video. We just have to figure out how to get into the package here. Okay. And let's see, cut this to the side. Now, Songbird Productions is cool. I've talked about them in the past. They do indie stuff for a lot of Atari type of content. And this is technically part of that universe. Oh, here it is. We got two things. Put those there. First, we have a game. This is Freefall 3050 AD for the Nuon. Oh yes. The Nuon, I've done a few videos on in the past. Nuon is a system nobody ever remembers. And it's not your fault. I didn't even know it existed for years. The long story short with the Nuon was that there was a company called VM Labs that basically was going to attempt to compete with the Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. There is a fifth 6th gen console. It is called the Nuon. And it was mostly made up of former Atari developers. In a way, it's the spiritual successor to the Atari Jaguar, as odd as that sounds. The system did not do well. It was basically integrated into DVD players, and it would have its own custom games. I mean, I've done whole videos on this. In the end, there were only 8 games ever made for it, one of which was exclusive to South Korea, and that South Korean game is so uncommon, there is not even a dump of it online anywhere, which tells you a lot. There's a couple known copies that exist in the hands of private collectors that have made videos, but are unwilling to dump the game, which is unfortunate. Songbird, I'm not sure how he did this, but he got the rights to release a couple of the games. He did one called Iron Soldier 3, which I bought that. And he also got the rights to reissue Freefall 3050 AD, which is, I actually own the original release of this, so this is just a bonus. This is the limited edition version. Yeah, so inside, you know, it's just got the disc and a nice manual. The manuals and everything are upgraded. He's not trying to pass these off as the originals. I mean, Songbird is written all over it. But yeah, these totally work, and you know, it's cool because there's just not that many games on the Nuon. So to have, if you are a Nuon collector, you really got to get involved with Songbird because they've actually got Nuon content, and that's what we lead into here. This will get its own video. This finally will solve my problem. So the thing with the Nuon is, even if you really want to get into it, like, and you actually just really want to try those 8 games, or 7 more likely, because you're probably not going to get that South Korean one, the controller ports on them were proprietary. They had their own thing, but they just didn't produce nearly enough controllers, like not even close. And so finding a controller for it is essentially impossible. So the solution has basically been non-existent for years. In comes this thing, the Ares 64. This is a controller adapter that specifically lets you use Nintendo 64 controllers on the Nuon. Now, I'm not really sure why they chose Nintendo 64, but that does open various options, because not only can you use the OG one, maybe I can use the Retro Fighters controllers. We'll see. I'm going to do a whole video on this. This is just kind of an appetizer for the video to come, but yeah, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to making a video about that. That's going to be sweet, because then I can finally, because I got 2 Nuons and I can't play them. But, you know, whatever. So, yeah, thank you to Songbird. That's awesome. Stay tuned for that video. Stay tuned. I will do the Retro Fighters video. Thank you again to Pixel Heart for this little package here. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, if you do me a favor, please like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't done that before, and hit me up on all the social media stuff. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Discord. I think I repeated a few in there, but you get the point. Go in there. And the travel channel, Flying and Eating. I appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.